This is the story of one of the most legendary and holy men to have ever existed. Nearly 3,500 years ago, that is around 1,500 BCE, in Aryana Vaeja, around the Aral Sea, lived a gentle pastoral people. A peaceful people who survived by raising horses and cattle and sheep. They were constantly attacked by raiding parties and in a state of almost constant conflict. Finally, weary of the almost constant strife, the soul of Mother Earth, Geush Urvan, made a fervent appeal to Ahura Mazda, also known as Hormuzd, praying for a savior. In response, Ahura Mazda chose a divine being of unparalleled wisdom who accepted the divine call to be the redeemer of the world. This divine being was Zarathustra. According to legend, three spiritual elements came together for the conception of baby Zarathustra. His Kwar, or divine glory, his Fravar, or guardian spirit, and his Tangor, his physical body. And, guided by Ahura Mazda's divine forces, all three were united in Zarathustra's mother-to-be, Dugdova. But not everyone was happy with the impending birth of this special baby, Zarathustra. Even while the baby was growing in Dugdova's womb, the evil spirit Ahriman tried his best to prevent this divine birth. Ahriman cast an evil spell that made Dugdova very ill, forcing her to seek the help of a wicked physician who would have killed the baby through a poisonous potion. But a divine voice from the heavens warned Dugdova not to go, and instead showed her how to make a healing drink that would cure her of her illness. And so, in spite of Ahriman's worst efforts, Zarathustra was born. And while all other babies until then or since cried at birth, Zarathustra was born smiling. And as he was born, all of nature, the waters and the plants, rejoiced and grew in strength and prosperity to mark his birth. While all the evil forces were forced into flight to hide in the very depths of the earth. But the forces of evil did not rest for long, and hatched many a plot to kill the infant Zarathustra. The evil magician Durasrob was sent to twist and confuse the mind of Zarathustra's father, Vishtaspa, and kill his divine child. Almost in a trance, without really knowing what he was doing, Vishtaspa first placed his precious baby on a pyre of wood and tried to set it aflame. But he did not succeed. Next, he placed the baby in the path of a stampeding herd of bulls. But miraculously, a white bull stood over the baby, protecting him from the thundering hooves. Finally, he threw Zarathustra into a lair of wolves, hoping he would be killed by the mother wolf. But even this did not succeed. Eventually, as the baby Zarathustra grew hale, hearty, and strong, the evil Durasrob decided to take matters into his own hands. and tried to stab the young boy. But again, miraculously, he lost all power in his arms and found it impossible to kill the boy. By the time he was 7, Zarathustra was placed under the tutelage of a wise and venerable teacher, Burzin Kurush, who guided the young boy to uphold and follow the path of truth and righteousness. And so, Zarathustra grew up to be a happy and kind child, who only wanted for others to be happy and content in their pastoral lives. However, the evil magician Durasrob and his partner Bratroresh continued to conspire against the young Zarathustra whenever the opportunity arose. One day, Zarathustra fell ill. And seeing an opportunity, Durasrob and Bratroresh tried to poison him. But even this plan failed. Zarathustra refused the drink and gently admonished his father for inviting the evil sorcerers into his house. When the wicked magicians were returning home, they were both attacked by a fatal, crippling disease that destroyed them forever. When Zarathustra turned 15, legend has it that his brothers asked their father to divide their inheritance. But the only thing that Zarathustra chose for himself was a kushti, his father's sacred cord, leaving everything else to his brothers. This kushti became the spiritual sign of what was to follow, the growth and spread of Zarathustra's divine path. From his 15th year, Zarathustra's religious development began, and many stories have been told about his innate goodness. He gave away all the cattle fodder from his father's supply to help other herdsmen who were suffering from a severe famine. At 20, he left his father's home in search of the truth and inquired thus: who is most desirous of righteousness and most nourishing of the poor? On his journey, Zarathustra's innate kindness led him to help the poor and save many injured and hungry animals. And because of his childhood training as a priest in the pre-Zoroastrian faith that his family followed, he could endure long periods of solitude and contemplation. One day, in his 30th year, Zarathustra went to fetch water from the good river Daitya for the sacred strength-giving Haoma ceremony. As he waded into the clear waters of the river, he saw the Vishtaspa, Baman, as a shining being standing on the other side of the riverbank. So bright was his presence that it did not even cast a shadow. This shining being, the Vishtaspa Baman, took the young Zarathustra into the celestial court of Ahura Mazda. Over a period of 10 years, Zarathustra received a series of 7 revelations. During this time, Zarathustra still had no followers, and his only disciple was his cousin, Medyoma. He also had to battle against many temptations and assaults that came his way from the forces of evil. It is said that from the regions of the north, Ahriman sent the deadly Druj upon holy Zarathustra to destroy him. On seeing the Druj, Zarathustra chanted aloud the Yatha Ahu Varyo prayer, the truthful utterance. On hearing this, the Druj rushed to Ahriman and said to him, "I see no way to kill him, so great is the glory of holy Zarathustra." Ahriman turned to Zarathustra and said to him, "Do not destroy my creatures, O holy Zarathustra. renounce the good law of the Mazdayasni worshippers, and you will gain the boon to rule nations." To which Zarathustra replied, "No, never will I renounce the good law of the Mazdayasni worshippers, though my body, my life, my soul should be burned." Saying which, he chanted aloud the Yatha Ahuvaryo prayer. At some point on his journey, Zarathustra arrived at the eastern Iranian lands ruled by King Vishtaspa. At first, his teachings did not meet with favor with the people or in the court of King Vishtaspa, despite Zarathustra having performed many miracles. He faced considerable opposition from the courtiers who saw Zarathustra as a threat to them. Nevertheless, he found favor with Queen Hutausa. The courtiers, resentful of his popularity with the queen, conspired to get rid of him. They planted a hoard of bones and hair and other items associated with witchcraft in Zarathustra's house. Then whispered to the king that Zarathustra was a sorcerer and a skilled magician, and showed him their evidence. The king, believing his courtiers and the evidence of his own eyes, had Zarathustra thrown into prison. But as in all legends, there comes a turning point, when the forces of good triumph over evil. And just a little while later, the king's favorite black horse fell ill. The Kavis and the Karapans did everything in their power to cure the horse, but they failed. But Queen Hutausa remembered that Zarathustra had said that disease and suffering were not the work of God, but the work of evil. She requested the king to call Zarathustra from prison and ask him to cure the paralyzed limbs of his favorite horse. In desperation, the king agreed, and Zarathustra was brought from his prison cell to the court, in what would be the ultimate test of both his teachings and his divine status. Zarathustra stood and recited the Yatha Ahuvaryo 4 times to cure each limb of the paralyzed horse. And lo and behold, the king's favorite horse rose to his feet and soon regained his health. In return for this miracle, Zarathustra asked the king to grant him 4 favors. First, that King Vishtaspa should accept his teachings. Second, that Vishtaspa's son Isfandyar should promote and support the new religion. Third, that Queen Hutausa should also accept the new faith. And fourth, that those who had conspired against him should be punished. King Vishtaspa granted all 4 boons to Zarathustra. In return, the king asked Zarathustra for 4 favors as well. Zarathustra politely declined, saying that all 4 boons cannot be granted to one man. However, he would grant the king any one wish of his choice. The king chose the first wish, which was to know the fate and place of his soul in heaven. Soon afterwards, the Amesha Spentas Baman and Ardibesht, together with the celestial fire of Ahura Mazda, visited the king and his courtiers. The fire spoke out loud. "We have been sent by Ahura Mazda to tell you to take care of Zarathustra, to listen to his teachings, and never to dissent with him." As the king beheld the radiance of the fire, Ardibesht gave him a bowl containing the Hauma libation mixed with man, an intoxicant. When the king drank the potion, he lost consciousness and saw by way of a vision the glories of heaven which awaited his soul in the hereafter. Upon coming out of his trance, the king readily accepted the revelation of Zarathustra and requested Queen Hutausa to accept the revelation as well. Upon King Vishtaspa and his people accepting the Zoroastrian religion, there was much opposition from neighboring kings, like King Arjasp, the king of the Turanians, who refused to accept the Zoroastrian religion. And so, a bitter war was fought, in which Vishtaspa's brother Zarir was killed. The invasion was repulsed by King Vishtaspa and his son Isfandyar, and in the second battle, King Arjas was killed. Finally, one day when he was 77 years old, while Zarathustra was bowed deep in prayer, an evil Turanian assassin named Bradres crept silently upon him and stabbed him to death. Greek and Latin writers report of a miraculous passing away. They refer to a fiery shaft of light, which it is believed carried the prophet Zarathustra to his eternal abode, heaven. And thus ends the story of Spitaman Zarathustra, a divine being and a mortal, and the revealer of the oldest monotheistic faith in the world. Today, more than 3,500 years later, the faith is still followed by Zoroastrians living all over the world, who persevere against all odds to follow Zarathustra's teachings, at the heart of which lies Asha, the truth. Humata, Hukta, Vrashta. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds.